Hey there folks, Meteorologist Hunter McCullough here for Northern News Now. Another episode of Beyond the Forecast here. Thank you very much for joining me here on this beautiful day. We do have some fog that did linger earlier this morning, and we've got some fog issues. We've had those the past few days, widespread dense fog. So you might be wondering why exactly we see fog, what causes fog, what that's all about, and I'm going to talk more in this first part of the video about what exactly fog is, how it develops. There's a couple of different ways, and how Lake Superior can really influence fog as well, and how living near Lake Superior can cause us to be a little bit more foggy than some other areas as well. So I hope you enjoy this video, talking more about fog, how it develops, and everything fog related. Enjoy. Hey there folks, Meteorologist Hunter McCullough here for Northern News Now. Today we're going to be talking about fog. It's been foggy these past couple of days, and we're going to continue to see the chance for fog into the next day or so over Lake Superior. So we've got a couple different kinds of fog. All fog is, quite literally, is a cloud. The temperature reaches the dew point, it condenses, water droplets condense and forms a cloud. It's literally a cloud at the surface. There's a couple different kinds of fog. This first one we're going to talk about is what's called advection fog. Advection in meteorology is moving warm or cold air into warm or cold air. So we have warm air advection, which means you got warm air moving into cooler air. You got cold air advection, which means you got cold air moving into warmer air. So what advection fog is basically is warmer air moving into some cooler air. So warm and moist air moves over into this cooler feature at the surface, which can be snow, it can be a lake. If you see that warm air move over that cooler air, it actually cools down the air until it reaches the dew point. And so what happens is, again, it's cooled to the saturation point. This typically occurs with a warm front passage in the winter, but it also can occur over lakes, which is something that we see a lot here, in rivers. If you get the warm air from the land moving over the cooler air of the lake immediately, with the air right above it, cools that air down to the dew point, and we start to see some fog forming. So that's, again, called advection fog. We also have radiation fog. Both kinds, by the way, we see pretty often in the Northland when we do have fog here. Radiation fog, this type of fog is more associated with clear skies, calm conditions, and you see that radiational cooling, which I've talked about before, but I'll likely make another video someday talking more about that. When you've got a clear, mostly calm night, you need a little wind out there, but nothing too crazy, maybe 2 miles per hour, just enough to mix that air a little bit. You have the heat at the surface radiating out to space during the overnight hours. Clear skies, relatively calm winds, and what does that do? Well, that cools our temperature sometimes down to the dew point, and that's called radiation fog. So if you see radiation fog as a result of clear skies, well, that's what radiation fog is. So you've got a couple different kinds of fog. Now we've got a huge lake, Lake Superior, of course, which really does influence what we talk about when it comes to weather here. So sometimes what happens during the day is that we don't see fog inland, but we see fog over Lake Superior. Then at night, we see that fog creeping onto land. So this is one scenario of why this happens. So we've got sometimes winds coming off of Lake Superior, and we've got cooler air over Lake Superior. This is at night right now. Cool air inland as well. So as we have these winds coming off of Lake Superior, kind of like advection fog, we see that fog moving off of Lake Superior onto the land. As we go into the day, now it's warmer inland, so we see that temperature not at the dew point anymore. The temperature warms up past the dew point, and that fog burns off. Now you'll see that term quite a bit too, fog burning off. It doesn't actually burn off. It just kind of goes away. It dissipates as we see that temperature rising from that dew point. So here's kind of a closer look at exactly what I'm talking about. You can see that temperature and the dew point are not the same in this scenario. Warmer inland, cooler along the lake, and as long as those temperatures stay at the dew point near Lake Superior, we're still seeing fog over the lake. But as we go into the evening hours, as it cools down, then we see that fog starting to move onto the shorelines. And it can stay cool near the lake in Duluth, obviously, if we have winds coming off of Lake Superior, and so that can cause it to stay foggy throughout the day just around Lake Superior. but inland it can be sunny skies. We see that quite a bit around here. So Lake Superior obviously having a huge impact and a huge influence on our fog situation and weather in general. This next segment we're going to talk a little bit more about atmospheric blocking, which doesn't really have to do much with fog, but more so just another feature of our atmosphere that might be interesting to you folks for listening here. So in the meantime, we'll be right back.